Hello, everybody. My name is Dave Giwerc, and welcome to TADD Talks. I am president and founder of the ADD Coach Academy, a fully accredited coach training program accredited by both the International Coach Federation and the Professional Association of ADD Coaches. I am also a master certified coach with the Professional Association of ADD Coaches and a master certified coach with the International Coach Federation. And I've been very involved with ADDA for many years as a president and as a professional advisory board member. So I'm very excited to be here today to share with you why coaching is one of the most important investments for people who have ADHD for having the best life you can possibly be. So in the next 9 to 10 minutes, which is not a lot, and I can't possibly talk about the whole profession of coaching, I'm going to limit the discussion to those areas that are most important in terms of emotional regulation and understanding your ADHD. And I'm going to put this in the context of 4 words that I think give it a nice structure. It's an acronym, or actually it's alliteration, because I love alliteration. And the 4 words are educating you about your own ADHD, because it's not enough to know about ADHD. You have to understand your own particular brand of ADHD and how it manifests. It's energizing yourself to understand that you're not broken, that having ADHD means you're a neurodiverse human being with trillions of options that you process and learn the world. You just have to find out about those. And energizing also means that what you pay attention to grows. That if you pay attention to negative thoughts and emotions all the time, you're going to create neurology in your brain, which is going to just make your ADHD worse. It's just going to exacerbate it. And then the 3rd word is empowering. That once you understand your ADHD and you're educated about it, your particular brand, and you're energized because you know that what you pay attention to will either catalyze or immobilize you, then you learn to empower yourself to go out there because you've tested it in the energizing phase. You've experimented with it to go out there and empower yourself to integrate it into your life. And when I say integrate into your life, not only positive emotions, but the inherent innate strengths that you have that have been buried. Because people with ADHD tend to pay attention to what they can't do at the expense of what they can do. And then the last of the 4 E's, so you've got educating, energizing, and empowering. And the last one is the most important. It's taking all those things that you've learned and it's embracing it, making it internal, making it who you are. Because ADHD is not who you are, it's what you have. Who you are has already been established when you were born. ADHD is a unique brain wiring, when not understood, gets in the way of your divine inner greatness. Okay? So let's backtrack and let's talk about educating. And of course, I can't talk about all the education, but we'll talk about the most important elements of educating. And one of the most important elements of educating you about your own ADHD is to understand it's not enough to know about ADHD. You have to understand your own particular brand of ADHD and how it shows up situationally. One thing we know about ADHD is that it's a deficit of interest. It's a deficit of engagement. So if you're bored and you're not engaged in the activity that you're about to enter, your brain's going to shut down, and the harder you try, the more it's going to shut down. So I'm going to give you a quick little model that we use in our coach trainings, one of 10 models. And all you have to do is take out a pen and piece of paper. It's a tool that you can use for yourself. Of course, I'm just giving it to you as an overview. It's called the I model. And all you have to do is write the letter I on the southern end of the paper, on the eastern end of the paper, write I, on the northern part of the paper, write I, on the western part of the paper, write I. And in the middle, right in the middle of all those I's, is another I. Now, what do all these I's mean? Of course, I love alliteration. First I on the southern side, the longest tip on the bottom, is called interest. And Nora Valco did a 9-year study that said ADHD is a deficit of interest. If you can't engage the ADHD brain, the harder you try to pay attention to something, the more your brain will shut down. And that is like manna from heaven. People are so surprised when they hear that. But interest isn't enough, because I can be interested in video games. I can be interested in going in a car 200 miles an hour. Intention has to be aligned with attention of interest. So what's intention? Intention means your purpose. Who do you want to be? How do you want to act? That's purposeful. So attention and intention have to be aligned. ADHD is as much a challenge of intention as it is interest. The other eye to the right, to the east side, is called inhibition. That's the ability to pause. People with ADHD don't learn how to pause. So when we get to the energizing part of it, we're going to teach you how to pause, but you have to know that people with ADHD have patterns that are automatic and they don't pause. To the left of the west side is what we call ignition. And ignition is your emotions. It's the limbic system. It's the part of your brain, the amygdala, that's the watchdog of emotions. And ADHD, to me, even though it's not in the DSM-5, is so tied into emotional regulation, the ability to regulate your emotions in any given moment. And if you can't pause, which is inhibition, you can't pause to pay attention to the emotions, the negative emotions generally, that create negative chemicals like cortisol, which can stress you out and immobilize you. So understanding the source of your ignition, the source of your emotion, is very important, and we're taught to manage negative emotion. What we're talking about is managing positive emotion. And then up to the very top is intuition. And I believe that intuition is learning to trust all the signals that people with ADHD have never learned to trust. Like many of us are hypersensitive, and we don't use that sensitivity to understand intuitively what's going on with that person in front of us. I also love what Ned Hollowell says about intuition and creativity. My good friend Ned says, creativity is impulsivity gone right. And intuition is trusting that impulsivity when you feel it. Now, you can't trust impulsivity when you're going to take a $500,000 loan on a business without checking it out. But I'm talking about the day-to-day intuitive things, like I want to go talk to that person, or I want to go buy that book. Use and trust your intuition based on all these other I's: interest, inhibition, intention, ignition, and intuition. And I know that's a quick view, but if you want to learn more about that, you can get my book, Permission to Proceed, or you can come to one of our wonderful teleclasses called Simply ADHD. So now we've moved off the educating piece. And one thing I neglected to mention about education is you've got to remember this. Those of you who have chosen to take medication, and there's good reason for that, and have done your homework, remember, the pill does not give you the skill. The pill only puts you on a level playing field and allows the neurochemicals in your brain to focus and sustain focus. But learning the skills that move you ahead in life, that's what a coach is going to help you do. You know, after you get the diagnosis and you get the medications and the medications are right, or you work with a therapist, who's going to help you navigate the daily turbulence of life? Who's going to help you navigate and help you identify your inner greatness, your strengths? Because in energizing, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about empowering you to pay attention to situations that identify the natural recurring patterns of success that are already innately part of your brain. But performance strengths is not enough, because here's what I've learned. If you have something that you do exceptionally well, if you don't have the inspiration and the motivation to use that performance strength, you're not going to sustain it long enough, and it's going to die. So energizing means we learn to identify the sources of inspiration that allow us to identify who we are as human beings. Too many kids go to college and choose a subject on what they're going to do, what subject they're going to do. And they never realize that maybe who I am is history, and who I am is English, and who I am is kindness and helping people. And the mother and dad, meaning well, says you have to take the sciences because that's where the jobs are. And I have case upon case where people who found their inspiration and found out who they were through the use of the VIA character strengths. This is a free assessment created by Martin Seligman, which 3.5 million people across the world use, and we are the only place in the world, the Academy, that has been given permission to do research on, which we did. We found the strengths and the weaknesses of adults with ADHD. But what we know in working with these character strengths, these are imbued in positive emotion, and they're inspirational, and they activate the brain. And ADHD is a challenge of activating the brain, but also an energizing. It's learning how to pause when you feel something out of harmony and it's a negative emotion, to pause and feel it, and then deeply breathe through your nostrils so that your diaphragm goes out. And why is that? Because if you don't do that, we are emotional beings. We are wired emotionally. And the memories that we access, if they are of a negative emotion, quality of life is built on the emotions that we access and the memories that we access. If we don't learn how to access positive emotions and positive memories, the memories we access are of a negative nature. We bring those forth in the present, and those negative chemicals will immobilize you. So learning to pause and breathe and name the emotion is called emotional intelligence, of only about 1/3 of the world has. We as coaches take all these theories and we bring them to a pragmatic, practical place on a daily basis. And we teach you how to do this, but we do it as a partnership by asking you questions. What are the situations that immobilize you? What are the emotions you pay attention to? Do you know your character strengths? Do you know who you are? These are questions that are not asked by therapists or doctors. And the way we educate is very pragmatic. So energizing means you know you have the ability to pause and pay attention to what you're paying attention to in the moment, and then empower yourself. And empower yourself means this. It no longer becomes a belief that I think I can manage my ADHD. We are recording knowings, a knowing, like I know I can ride a bike, like I know I can give a speech, like I know I have the experience of having success. And those knowings are captured in one source. It could be a success diary, it could be a file on your phone, but you don't rely on your memory to access these positive, successful moments of positive emotion, of success and fulfillment. And your character strengths, I keep my character strengths in my wallet with me all the time, because when you express at least 2 or more of your character strengths, they are imbued with positive emotion and they automatically lead you to your performance strength. So I know that on any given day, I know that if I don't access my character strengths, whether it's fairness or leadership or creativity or social intelligence, and I don't express at least 2 of those, my ADHD is going to be exacerbated. These are the things that coaches do that nobody else does. These are the ways, and these are only a smidgen of what I'm asking you to really truly invest in your life, because medications and working on pathology is not going to move you ahead. And the last piece is empowering. Last piece, is embracing. After you've educated yourself about your ADHD, after you've energized yourself about knowing your strengths and knowing your positive emotions and empowering yourself to take the risk of taking that positive memory, the context of that positive memory, which is your frame of reference, and memory is always available to you. The event may have died, but the spirit and the soul and the energy and the positivity that went to it, it is always available to you if you have a source to access it. And then it's embracing all of that and saying, who I am is not my ADHD. Who I am is a neurodiverse, divine human being, replete with character strengths, and there's 24 of them. Your top 5 to 7 are the ones that you use in most areas of your life. And I encourage you to go to viacharacter.org and take it for free. And call me if you'd like. And the last piece is who you are has to be identified first before you choose what you will do. Because if you choose a profession of what you will do and it's not aligned with the essence of who you are, I can assure you that you will not last long in that profession. And I have tons of anecdotal cases of people that did it the who way. This is who I am and this is what I choose to do, who are doing fabulously. And I know of people who are pressured into choosing a profession and an occupation that was not aligned with who they are. I know because I was one of those people. It's what brought me into coaching. After 12 years in the ad agency business, I woke up one day, learned about my ADHD, and learned that who I was and what I was doing was not aligned. So this is very powerful stuff. It's a smidgen of what we do as coaches. Now, I've really enjoyed my time with you, and it goes very, very fast on these TAD Talks. But if you'd like to find out more about the work that I'm doing, please feel free to go to addca.com. That's ADDA.com. And there's lots of great content on there. We have educational programs. We have, if you want to become a coach, and what I've shared with you is inspiring you, please check that out. Please feel free to set up an appointment with me to talk more about this if you'd like. And lastly, let me say this, that I have a vision, and my vision is of a world, and you know, Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., they all had visions and they never saw them come to reality, but they had a mission. And my mission is on a daily basis to empower every single human being with ADHD that comes before me, to empower them to embrace the inner greatness that already exists in each one of them. Because if you have ADHD and you feel powerless and you feel down, that is not the real you. The real you is full of greatness. And that's what great coaches do. So if you choose to work with a coach, this is where you're going to go. You're going to go from the old way of learning how to manage negative emotions and create positive emotions and explore and be able to express the essence of who you are every day. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope to see you at the upcoming CHAD ADDA ACO conference. Bye, everybody.